What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. That is Mike Fuji up top. I am Al Norfleet, and together we are at the 50 with Fuji and Fleet. And today we have a great show for you. And the first thing we want to do, we have a U.S. Marine Sergeant Corey Toothman. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, sir. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. And we have Sergeant on because we want to talk about the Toys for Tot programs here in Philadelphia. And so tell us all about the program and what your goals are.
Absolutely. So for those unfamiliar with the Toys for Tots program, it's a national-wide campaign that is to get toys to kids. So that way no kid goes a Christmas morning without any toys. So each county has their own campaign. I'm actually in charge of the Philadelphia campaign. And because it's a national program, a lot of people get confused that when they donate, they don't really see where that money goes or where those toys go. But the good thing about the Toys for Tots program is when you donate to your local campaign, so in this case, the Philadelphia County campaign, you're benefiting those kids in your community. That's what I'm responsible for. And as a Marine, we kind of rotate out yearly. So this is actually my first year as part of the program, but the program has been around for about 75 years, give or take. It was started in California by a reserve unit out there, and the Marine Corps really enjoyed the benefits they saw out of that, and they've continued ever since.
Okay. Is there any age group?
Yes, sir. So we break our toys up by age, and more specifically, right now we're kind of hurting for boys and girls from infant to 2-year-old, 8 to 9, and 10 to 11. So anybody that finds their local drop site, like Michelin Barbecue, Planet Fitness, City Fitness. I've been delivering boxes all over the place. So if you see one of those boxes that you see on the slide that's popping up now, just please find or donate a new unwrapped toy in there. And again, those age groups are 0 to 2, 8 to 9, and 10 to 11 that we're really hurting for right now.
Okay, good. Now, and these boxes are located throughout the city of Philadelphia, correct?
Yes,
And
sir. I know
counties.
I name dropped a couple different companies, but all kinds of companies from different backgrounds request those toys through that website you see underneath me there, the Philadelphia PA toysfortots.org. Just like you can go in there and request assistance, people can go on there and give assistance as well.
Okay.
So that's how those companies get those boxes. And on that note, a lot of companies don't understand that either. So anybody who wants to get involved with the Toys for Tots campaign, their main source to get the help or to help out is to go to that website.
Okay, good. And you said this is started somewhere in the 40s, correct?
Yes, sir. Roughly 75 years ago. I consider myself to be somewhat of a history buff, but you know how it get. You guys
Right.
start stuffing it in, and it's got to go somewhere.
And this is your first year involved in it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. What type of feelings or emotion does it give you just to be involved in it?
So I'm glad you asked that. I know because we talked about a couple of different things, but so even though this is my first year with the Toys for Tots campaign, my grandmother, she's the one that taught me about community service and like the how it's just right to give back, right?
Right.
You know, so I grew up with that sense of pride just by helping others. And when I showed up here to Philadelphia with 314, I found out that like about the Toys for Tots program, how it worked, and I jumped at the opportunity, just because no kid should go without a toy, right? Who needs more help than kids, right?
Right, absolutely. All right, hold on for 1 second there. How are you, Kelsey?
Hi, how are you? I'm so
Good.
sorry about the delay. I was using the link in the calendar invite. I forgot.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys? Happy Wednesday.
Good.
Good.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on. Again, Sergeant, thank you for joining us. Just, I was making sure Miss Nelson got on.
Okay.
Yeah, we appreciate both of you coming on tonight. Big game tomorrow here in Philly. Miss Nelson, the sergeant, will be at the game tomorrow on the field with the flag.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
So, will you be in Philly for the game?
I so wish I was. I'm teaching, I teach class tomorrow. So now that I'm teaching, I'm kind of more stuck in DC.
Right.
But of course, I will
Okay.
be watching on Amazon Prime like everybody else. I'm excited for
Right.
the So hopefully
And
come back with a win.
NFC showdown at its finest.
Okay, let me just incite you a little bit of what we're doing here. We're the sergeant here. He is part of the Toys for Tot program here in Philadelphia, and I'm sure that Washington has one as well. And so we just had him on a little bit just to talk about that since it's that time of the year. And we pretty much got everything that we need, Sergeant. We appreciate you coming on. Now, is there anything else that you want to add to this course?
I think I hit everything that I needed to talk about. I appreciate y'all giving me this opportunity to come on here and talk about it. But please, anybody that's listening, even if you don't know how to help, or if you don't know if you can help, if you know somebody that needs help, go to that website. There's plenty of good information on there. And like I was saying as I was saying earlier, it's to help the kids.
Right.
So just push that information out there so that way people who needs the help can get it.
Okay, perfect. And Mike and I we'll be in touch with you more and get more information, because every week that we have this show, we're gonna mention something about the Toys for Tot and make sure that people get the word and try to give as much help as possible.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we appreciate you very much. And thank you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you. Semper Fi.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your
Thank
service.
you for your time and service. We appreciate you coming on.
Oh, no, thank you. Have a good one.
All right.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Now here we are with Miss Kelsey Nicole Nelson, a trailblazer in sports in the DMV, an award-winning professional broadcasting journalist and radio personality. And you are into this sports things like no other, correct?
Just like you fellas, I love sports, and I've been able and blessed to make a career out of it. So I'm very thankful to have that opportunity.
Okay. Now, before we start talking about the game, tell us a little bit more about yourself there.
My gosh, I'm like,
there's a lot. Yeah, I'm reading.
You wear many hats.
I wear many hats. Yeah.
You got a resume as long as probably the 10 Commandments.
I have been super blessed, Mike. No, and I am glad that it's introduced me to great people like you, and obviously great to meet you, Al. But like you said, I'm based in the DMV area, but specifically live in DC. I get a chance to cover all of our DC teams. I'm actually doing a lot more college sports currently, which is exciting because I think it's a fun time. College basketball just kicked off, which is fun. It's been so fun too to see the growth of women's sports. And so I have my GW gear on. I teach at George Washington University. I teach intro to sports writing and reporting. Launched that class at GW. It's the inaugural class. That's been really fun to be part of. I'll soon have my color analyst debut for a local DMV college, which I'm super excited about. So you can catch me calling games this season as well, in addition to my radio work. In terms of television, I pop on a bunch of shows like you guys and talk all things Commanders. Obviously, after you guys are going to catch some of this Wizards game, because we'll talk, the Washington Wizards in their season. As it's continuing to go on, I have my own podcast, Listen In with KNN, as well with Fox Sports Radio. I also have 2 internship programs through that. So obviously, if that doesn't keep me busy enough, I have my own media and communications consulting company, helping folks to brand and tell their stories. And I work with a group called Mentor as our director of communication. So all things about quality and quantity of mentoring relationships. So I just stay a little bit busy in the DC area, but it's fun. My hands are on all things sports, host a lot of events here, moderate a lot of events here, but it's been fun. So no complaints.
I guess that's really what it's all about. You can do things, but if you do it and have fun with it, then it makes it awesome.
Makes it all better.
All right, Mike, you go ahead there.
Oh, well, God, now I'm tongue-tied at the moment. I'll let you start it off.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, I have to shout out the A10 real quick too, because I am an A10 studio host. I don't want my A10 family to get mad. So if you
Okay,
watch
cool.
Atlantic 10 College Hoops, you will see me on ESPN Plus this season as well.
Okay, good. I definitely look forward to that. I too stay very busy. I'm supposed to be retired,
Oh,
but
okay.
it hasn't worked out that way right
You
now.
love the work. You love being
Yeah,
in the action.
it's like a couple of days ago, I had the San Jose Sharks. Last night I had the New York Knicks, and today I had the Washington Commanders. I
You're
just
busy.
dropped them off a few minutes ago, and so I love being around sports, and that's why I started this. Then met with Mike, and we got together. So, well, let's talk about sports. So
Right.
here we are. Here we are.
Yes.
Now, both teams are coming in on a short week.
Yep.
Washington coming in after a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they have a record of 7-3. And the Eagles are coming in with a win over Dallas with a record of 7-2. In your opinion, is there any advantage because of such a short week? And if so, who does that advantage go to?
Yeah, let me tell you, I'm excited about the short week. The players are probably not. But I guess the good thing about this game for Washington, since they just had their home game against the Steelers, is that it was not that far, right, for them to travel. So at least this short
Right.
week, right up the road, right up in Philly.
Yeah,
There's a lot of Commanders fans, there as well. When you think about the advantage, the Commanders are coming off of a loss, right? And of course, every time you lose, you want to avenge it. You could say a controversial loss, right? There's a lot of fans here in Washington that are still mad about that spot of that football, in that game. And, I think about a young quarterback like Jaden Daniels. I think about the Commanders' hurry up offense, right? That Cliff Kingsbury so likes to run in Washington. So I really don't see a disadvantage for Washington. Now, I think if anything, the big news that came today is Brian Robinson Jr., right, will be active for that game. And Washington's run game, I think, can be so special. They have such an amazing backfield. But for Philly, I think I look at Philly and, Philly, let's be honest, we expected Philly to be here, right? Everyone thought people thought Philly and Dallas would be atop the NFC.
Right.
At the beginning of the season, folks. Don't give me something about Dallas now, right?
Right.
Dallas has been a debacle, right? They're
dumpster fire at its best.
There's a lot happening in Dallas, but I think for Philly with the short week, of course, if you're at home, of course you're going to always have that advantage. Your home crowd. Philly fans are infamous, right? For
absolutely,
and what they bring. But all that to say, I don't think it's a disadvantage again for Washington because I think they're riding on such of a high, and the season has been really an incredible season when you look at what's been there. And I truly do think that Dan Quinn has changed the atmosphere in that locker room of this.
Oh yeah. He is a great guy. I've been dealing with him from back in the days when he was with Atlanta and then Dallas. And as soon as he saw me tonight, came up, gave me a hug. Said, "You still here?" I said, "Yeah, coach, I'm still here."
Still kicking. I love that. And that's what you hear about him, just a stand-up, genuine guy. So I think we're going to be in for a good game. I'm excited, but I don't think there's a if this was a game where Washington had to go, cross country or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think they still got fresh legs from Sunday.
Kelsey, just to shift gears away from the game. I mean, you talk about Dan Campbell, Dan Snyder, regime over, Josh Harris, of course, who, owns the Philadelphia 76ers, Dan Campbell coming in, as you said, Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels bringing the new aura to what is its locker room in this organization like compared to the Daniel Snyder era?
I think it's a beautiful thing right now happening in Washington because I feel like for once there's no controversy brewing over the Commanders, right? I think, when you look at Dan Quinn, I guess the only thing that really was controversial, you have to go back to the offseason when he wore the former logo of the team, right? Which is still controversial, right? And there was like some chatter about that. But since then, it's been a clean slate, right? I mean, it's been positive storylines, in Washington. We're talking about Jaden Daniels and his mom, who shout out to her, by the way. I just saw she became an agent officially and will be able, to help Jaden in that respect. So I think that's been exciting, fun. Obviously, having Jaden in the locker room as a young stud, right? I mean, a dual threat quarterback, can get things done, but also who has been praised for his leadership skills, right? Which I think is really, really important for him to bring in that locker room. And then, at Dan Quinn, and I mean, you hear it's all positives. Like this team believes in each other.
Right.
You see the guys like really stand up for each other. After Newton had that mistake in that game, everybody is like, no, he's not the reason why we lost, right? It's just been really beautiful, I'll say, to see just them running like a functional organization, right? I don't think Washington's doing anything that we haven't seen before. It's just things we haven't seen in Washington because the ownership was so messy, right? And then there were so many storylines off the field that it was really hard to focus on the product on the field. But finally, you have an owner, that again from the area, genuinely understands the vibes of this team and what this team can be since he was here when the glory days were here. And then again, you have players. Remember all these, there's a lot of new faces in Washington, and they all have bought into what Dan Quinn is selling, which is so important, right? So I think he's a player's coach, but also one that has the respect of every single person on that field. I'm old enough to remember when we had Washington players fighting on the sidelines, against a rival team, that everybody saw and was talking about. I think we're not seeing that now. Again, I think we're seeing a Washington team that has itself together. And honestly, I think we're seeing a Washington team that truly knows who they are and knows their identity, Mike. I think that's what's so exciting. And that's why fans are buying into what Washington is selling and really excited about continuing to raise hell.
Well, when you bring in players like veterans like Zach Ertz, of course, played in Philly.
Yep. I'm excited for his return. And can I say really quick, Mike, before the season started, everyone was asking me, who do I think is the addition that's going to be the biggest for Washington outside of Jaden Daniels? And I said Zach Ertz, and folks thought I was crazy. They were like, he's old. He's not going to give anything. I said, Zach Ertz is a sure-handed, right? He can catch and he knows the game. And sure enough, when he has come up big for Washington, Jaden Daniels knows he's Mr. Reliable. So I just had to give Zach Ertz a shout out, and folks give me my props on what I said before the season.
I wish Zach Ertz was still here in an Eagles uniform, which he should be, retiring as an Eagle. And I know Josh Harris is only paying Zach Ertz $5 million, and his career is resurrected. Not only, you got Austin Eckler there, but nobody really –
Austin Eckler has been such a beautiful piece for this Washington franchise.
A guy that's underrated on that defense is Bobby Wagner, who was a part of the Legion of Boom with the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, the guy, I forget where he played last year, but he's bringing that leadership, that swag, that Super Bowl winning mentality from Pete Carroll to, Dan Quinn's defense. And, like you said, you got these guys that are helping out Jaden Daniels. Also, I forgot the one of the tackles played for the Chiefs. I forget his name, but he played against the Eagles in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So you got all this leadership, and everything's just clicking on all cylinders for Washington right now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Bobby Wagner. What a valuable piece.
I wish the Eagles would have brought him in.
I mean, again, just great play. I mean, he's made plays. If you watch the game, he's made big plays, a veteran presence. Even before he started the season with the Commanders, he was getting props for, I think, really getting integrated in the community and going back for his degree at Howard University here locally, right in the area. And so all that to say, I think Bobby Wagner is a person that people respect on and off the football field. But I think for what he brings on the football field, he's bringing his veteran leadership by doing, right? He's not just talking to the young guys. So I think Washington's defense, and I know we can talk about them against the rush, which is an issue, and the secondary having some problems, which, is going to be interesting to watch in this game. But Bobby Wagner, I think, is a true vet that has really brought the leadership that Washington has needed on that defensive side of the football. Because quite frankly, after the whole Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Sweat, that was what was supposed to be the future of Washington's defense. And, you look now, Montez Sweat, right, and a whole nother team and franchise, John Allen out, right? Deron Payne, obviously still there. Chase Young on a whole nother franchise and teams. Defenses had to really re-identify, right? Rejuvenate themselves, I guess you could say. I think Bobby Wagner being on that has been huge. Frankie, I mean, there's so many people. And Frankie Lou, I think, is one that folks truly do love here in Washington. But all in all, like this, what Dan Quinn has been able to build and bring has been beautiful. And that's why we're seeing Washington reap the benefits, right? Sitting atop the division. I know that Steelers laws hurt them, but that's why I think this game, on paper, when before the season might not have been as interesting if folks thought Washington.
Absolutely. I agree.
now we've got one of the best games, right? Of
Yeah,
tomorrow night.
Can you touch on the Marshawn Lattimore trade? I mean, is he healthy playing tomorrow night?
No, he's not.
Yeah,
he's not. I tell you that right now.
So excited though to watch him play, but I think the secondary needed help. Right. But the secondary needed help. Washington fans were excited about it, but of course now we're on that ticking timeline. I guess Philly fans probably know what we feel like if you're a Sixers fan.
Absolutely.
With all the injuries that the Sixers have and that bench looking mighty full of street clothes. But yeah, essentially I think folks can't wait for Marshawn Lattimore to get in there. Benjamin St. Juice is one. I think that Commanders fans have had a love-hate relationship because I think he's been tested, right? In that secondary spot. But again, I think Washington, if they can shore up the secondary, honestly, it's a DMV thing because the other team here in my area that I get to cover, the Ravens, also need help in their secondary. So I don't know, something in the water is hurting our secondary.
I was going to ask you if you cover them as well.
Both need secondary help, and the Ravens game, right? That's the other big game everyone in this area is talking about because they're playing the Steelers. But really, we've got both teams here playing like the best games.
Right within 3 hours of each other.
Yeah.
I'll actually be in Baltimore in a couple weeks when the
nice. Keep me posted, Mike. So, definitely keep me posted.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll be down there with the Eagles when we go down there.
Nice. So cool. I'll meet both of you guys in person.
Now, speaking of the defense, the Washington defense is allowing 21 points a game, and they are among the worst in the red zone.
Yeah.
Do you think that once all the pieces get there, that they can rectify that? And because they don't really have a whole lot of weakness in the offensive game.
The offense puts up points, right? I mean, this Washington is one of the top scoring offenses in the league. And again, who had that on their 2024 bingo card, when the season started? It's been beautiful to watch. And, the offensive line doing what they need to do for the most part, protecting Jaden Daniels, which was a big issue before Jaden Daniels for other quarterbacks that often found themselves on their backs here in Washington, the offensive line getting tested. But, I think for the defense, I think, obviously the secondary is where we're going to, and you said it, the red zone, right? At the end of the day, what can you do to protect? I think that's going to be huge against the run game. Will Washington be able to figure things out? Philadelphia is going to be a team, I think, that definitely tests that. But all in all, I think Washington is going to have to come up with some unique defensive schemes. But at the end of the day, how do you get the team off of the field in the red zone? How can you at least hopefully hold them to 3, force a turnover? That was a big question for Washington's defense at the beginning of the season. Could they get turnovers, right? And we know the best defenses, right, get turnovers. It's just as simple as that. So I think this is going to be the first true test for Washington. I think the Steelers were a test, but I think all of us are still on a high with the Steelers. Like what we're seeing, but do we truly believe what we're seeing, right? Like we're like, oh, this is good for Mike Tomlin's team. We love this Russell Wilson comeback story, but nobody's putting the Steelers in the Super Bowl, right? Eagles, on the other hand, are a team that people are potentially putting
right.
attention. So I think if Washington's defense, I think it's gonna be huge. Can Jaden Daniels and the offense continue to put up points like they have been, right? Can he get Terry McLaurin, on the offense going? Noah Brown, both Brown, call them the Brown brothers, the Ammy Brown, can they get those guys going? But on defense, again, can they make stops? And I think the one thing that this defense will have a chance to potentially do is get turnovers. Jalen Hurts, I think, has had a unique season. When he's good, he's good, but we've also seen those mistakes, right? And I think that's going to be a prime opportunity for Washington's defense. I really do think this game is going to come over to which quarterback can play the cleanest game. And hopefully have obviously the fewest turnovers that defenses can capitalize off of. But all eyes will be on the defense. Yes, Mike, we're so sad Lattimore won't be playing, in that game. But his first game is very highly anticipated here in Washington because, as you said, Al, fans are kind of pleased with the offense. It's the defense scratching their head or keeping them up at night. Just knowing that teams can potentially find holes and find gaps.
Now, with all of that being said, let's not forget the fact that we're also NFC East rival.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, when Washington played Philly played the Giants, Philly played the Dallas, no matter how good or how bad that other team is, it's a different game when they play each other.
Oh yeah.
Go
And
either way, a toss up either way.
It's like a street fight.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
fun
you know
for fans, right?
the rivalries. The rivalries have been. I don't want to say dead, but it's just when these four teams play each other, it's just like an all out war.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
everybody brings their A+ game.
It's
know,
true,
just-
right? Like,
Yeah.
but I think that's what's fun about it. Like with the NFC,
Right.
and maybe Giants fans can participate in this conversation. Cowboys fans are lucky to even kind of still be in this somewhat in
Right.
this conversation. But the division rivalries are always better, right, when the teams are playing well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's been renewed, and you said it. Like sometimes even when Washington isn't playing well, we'll still get a good game,
Right.
throughout the season between this rivalry. But I think this one's going to matter that much more because Washington is good this year, and it's
Yeah.
something that fans have been waiting for. So to me, this feels like the first kind of truer Eagles Commanders rivalry that we've had in a while. Again, because of how this team has really put on a show for the world to witness, this year, which is really exciting.
And plus the fact it is the for the NFC East division lead.
Right.
And
That's
so
right,
this is
right.
there's a lot of importance
matters.
riding on this.
It
Yes.
matters. It's a tug of war. Someone's got to win.
NFC supremacy on the line tomorrow night at this time.
Who's the true king, right? That's
Absolutely.
that's why I said this game will be it'll be good. And I think for Jaden though, I think for Jaden this game could really kind of solidify how people feel about him, right? I think he's excited. People are buying on to him, but if he's able to get a win against the Eagles, I think you have to respect him, right?
Yeah,
Different when people like you versus when people respect you. I think on the other side of things for Philly, if they were to lose, I do think this would be a big question mark for folks saying, I tried to tell you, like they're not for real. So, I think this game, means something different for both teams. If the Eagles are able to win, I think more people probably do have the Eagles up for this game. I haven't looked at the latest betting lines, but I think overall, because people had high expectations, right, for Philly going into this season.
Right.
All right. I to me, I think the pressure is on the Eagles because, as you're saying, the division's on the line. A lot of the predictions were, Philly's going to be here, and really nobody ever saw Washington coming out.
Nobody except the DC fans, right? It was a contingent of fans that thought Washington would do what they're doing.
I really haven't had a chance to really watch Jaden Daniels play, but I actually did draft him in fantasy football.
You were a smart guy.
But I just I don't know. It just seems like to me, he just brings his confidence, the swag. I'm not putting the guy in the Hall of Fame yet. So, no, you think I'm putting him up on a pedestal yet?
Yeah. But I think we like what we've seen. And I think for fans that don't understand why fans are so excited about Jaden Daniels in Washington. Remember, this is a Washington team who has went through so many quarterbacks the last couple of decades, right? It's been a quarterback carousel. I say we've kept dating quarterbacks we never were able to marry and fully walk down the aisle. Now it feels like Jaden is the guy we're actually walking down the aisle and like going into something that could be promising. And I think that's what's exciting for Washington fans, because essentially I feel like they've been dealt false hopes, right? False prophecies of what this team could be. But Jaden, I think why folks respect him is because his game, right? We've seen it elevate. There was questions about, for Washington for the longest time, is there a quarterback who could throw the deep ball, who could get Terry McLaurin involved? Well, folks, Terry McLaurin is having a good year right now. And I'm sure he likes that guy, Jaden Daniels, throwing him the football. We've seen the deep ball from Jaden. We've seen him being able to escape trouble and have some of those moves, and I think why we like Jaden is his ceiling is high. Like Mike Tomlin, do not give me he's Lamar Jackson. He has not earned that yet, but he is playing very good football right now.
Right.
In the National Football League, you could say a lot about him, but you can see and then biggest thing too, we had questions, can he slide? He's learned how to better slide now. Right.
I just remember Michael Vick could never learn how to slide. I think they even brought somebody in from Major League Baseball to teach him how to slide, and he still couldn't do it.
You got to know how.
Back when he was playing, right?
Quarterbacks, you want longevity, right, for your quarterbacks, right? Ask Colts fans, right? With Anthony Richardson, you want your quarterback on that football field. You got to keep them healthy. So I think for Jaden, I think he's exciting. Let's just be honest, right? He's exciting football. I think, now this year, even if he doesn't do anything else, we're all going to remember the Hail Mary, right? That crazy, that craziness that we all watched against Chicago, that Chicago still has not figured themselves out since then. But essentially why we like Jaden again, because he's not just, he's proved he can be the guy. And Washington had trust issues here in Washington for a while, but he's finally put them on the mend into seeing what greatness can be when you have a functional franchise and organization and a quarterback who truly puts the work in to make the offense better each week.
Now, I'm gonna go off script here for a second because I was telling Mike before. This is one question I want to ask both of you. What is your thought on this Michael Parsons situation? Is the comments that he made as a journalist, a reporter?
Yeah.
How do you feel hearing a player talk like that about his coach?
I had a lot of issue with it because, again, for me, in any relationship, for me, respect is the one that's the guarantee, and that's the only thing I'll accept, right? And that's me in any role that people know me as, right? Yeah, you have to have trust and you have to have respect. And I think what he did broke both of those. And I think to call your coach out like that, and there's there's locker room talk, there's private conversations that don't need to be made public. As a journalist, that's great information because you're
because it sells.
Yeah, you're gonna have a storyline for weeks, right? Like literally. But the way he did that, and to really throw somebody out, and I'm a person, again, respect. You don't throw somebody under the bus, especially.
Right.
But I think we live in a time now, again, where I think the line has become blurred. Because we live in a world, where I think athletes are seen more as coaches' friends, right? It's almost like kids nowadays, right? As they're friends with their parents in a way, where it's like, yes, and this is kind of when it goes back to like the Bill Belichick days, right? Like, I don't know, I just think that respect, I'm old school, I guess. I want that old school respect from your coach. And I thought what he did was just wrong. And it didn't put he didn't put him in a good light. It didn't put his coach in a good light. And then it didn't put the organization in a good light. And really, though, I thought it just spoke to the problems that we see the Cowboys having. And you can see the has boiled over. You see the organization is obviously not handling it, but he knows better. You're a great player, but great players don't get excused for boneheaded decisions, I'll say. I thought that was completely unacceptable. I would have loved an immediate apology. I hope him and coach have hopefully talked privately, man to man, but you don't do that. So yeah, for me, again, even as a journalist, I didn't like how it was put out there. And even if you feel that way, and all of us have thoughts sometimes that don't need to fully come out of our heads. But now, I hope he does have to continue to answer for that, since he put himself right into this situation.
Right. Now, do you think one small question for you?
Yeah.
Now, by this whole situation happening, do you think that it's possible for other people in that locker room that may have thought that but was afraid to say it, or for some reason didn't say it, may swerve over to his side, and it could possibly cause a further division in the locker room?
I think the division's already there. I think that's why we're saying honestly, Cowboys play how they've played. If anything, no. I think, when you talk to guys, when you talk to players, like they care about their brother, right? They care about that locker room. And let's be honest, they care about that check coming at the end of the day too. So we're gonna put that all into perspective. And I know they see the backlash that he's getting. And now, mind you, Michael Parsons also is a little bit different, right? In the terms of, you could say he's a star player, right? A celebrity. And we know they get a little bit different treatment. But no, I think the other guys, and I'm hoping a veteran in that locker room, again, this is why you need veterans in your locker room.
Right.
Says, nah, like that's not cool. That's not right. So like I said, but again, I think when a house is burning, when the detectives, when the firefighters go in and see what happened, what do they usually point to? There had been problems, right? And all of a sudden it just got exacerbated, but there had been problems. Right now, the problems aren't being addressed. Right now, we're seeing the house on fire. And now, again, we're pointing to all of those internal issues. But, I had never seen that like that. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think the respect level, when you lose respect in anything, it's hard to come back.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I feel for coach, because I mean, the world is witnessing this before our eyes. And, what can he do? Really nothing. Like, even if he comes back and says there was disciplinary or whatever, you've lost that respect and you can't get that back. So it was just a bad situation in Dallas. And I don't know, Dallas, I think they just need the season to be over and they just need to start fresh. It's a lot happening there.
Well, I think my point of it is, I know Michael Parsons brought up Zach Martin, where I don't want to say I'm not siding with him, but, he's talking about, McCarthy could go get another coaching job possibly.
Yeah.
Guys like Zach Martin and, Zeke, I don't want to, Zeke Elliott, like guys like that are, coming into the twilight of their career. And, he's just basically saying, as he said, I want to hoist up the trophy for these guys. But, there's just, as you said, there's just a lot of finger pointing going on, and just, it's when when a coach loses the locker room, that's it. It's a wrap. And, it's McCarthy will move on. And as long as Jerry Jones is still, running this, the front man of the Barnum and Bailey circus he's running, it's just, it's over.
And, even I'll point back to Washington. If you guys remember when we were hearing Ron Rivera say that players had come up to him, Eric Bieniemy, right, was too intense and coaching them too hard. There was an issue in that locker room, right? Like, first off, why can't you go tell? And first of all, why are we complaining about being too hard on you? You're in the National Football League. You're at the top level of football. And then for that to even come out of Ron's mouth, right? I mean, that was
head coach.
Right. It's like, so I point, and then you see what happened to that Washington team. You see what happened to that head coach, right? There was a problem. There was an issue. And again, once that respect was gone, where's Ron Rivera right now, folks? Where's Eric Bieniemy right now, right? So all that to say, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're seeing the same thing happen in Dallas, except now it's coming directly from the player's mouth. And mind you, yes, is Micah the only person that feels like that in the locker room? Of course not. Of course not. Now, could you say he was the only one brave enough to say it? Sure, but again, just because you talk does not mean you're the smartest person in the room. Right?
Absolutely.
Honest, right? It's kind of what they say.
Doesn't mean you're saying the right thing either.
Right. So Dallas, but if anything, hopefully this is now something that Dallas, Jerry Jones, they have to address. They can no longer just sweep it under the rug.
Kelsey, as far as Brian Johnson, who was the Eagles' former offensive coordinator, was quarterbacks coach for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts' dad coached him in high school. I know he was just named assistant head coach under Dan Quinn. And can you tell us, from what your knowledge is, what is Brian Johnson bringing to this offense, to this coaching staff that, was just a meltdown here in Philadelphia last year?
Yeah, look, you had to bring that up.
We're still trying to. We're not wondering still, but as they say, inquirer minds want to know.
I was on a show the other day, and they said every person for this Commanders offense is there free drinks everywhere in Washington D.C. And that's again that's how excited they are. With it. When you look at Washington, when you look at the passing game, of Washington, again, when you look at their overall offense, and I know Jaden Daniels gets a lot of praise, right? Rightfully so, right? Because the quarterback position. But I think what's been beautiful about the offense right now, Mike, is one, we're seeing the ball shared and spread. Like so many people, why was Terry McLaurin underrated is because he was underutilized. Why was he underutilized? Because he didn't have the right people being able to throw to him, right? Like, so there was all these different issues that you could look at. But, Jaden Daniels, he opens the football field, which I think is a beautiful thing. The offense being able to quickly, it's so hard to figure them out because, right, they're the no huddle offense, right, that Washington is able to do. The quickness and vastness, of it, I think is really great. So I think everybody, Brian, I think everyone in that offense, Mike, they're doing the job that needs to be done. They're getting the guys to buy in, to trust, but I also think they're allowing the guys to also see the field. Like I feel like when I'm watching Jaden, he's reading the field a lot better, right, than week one. And if you remember that week one game, there were some questions after that week one, but all of a sudden, he's turned the page, which I think has been really promising. So again, that goes back to credit to Dan Quinn. This locker room, these coaches, they seem like the right fit, right? And some
Right,
people,
right.
it's like a puzzle. You can't make the pieces fit if they're not supposed to fit.
Oh,
Right now, Dan Quinn has seemed like he's found the right puzzle pieces to fit in terms of the personnel on the field and the personnel that's off of the football field. And again, we're not hearing any controversy with folks,
right.
and just craziness happening, with people on this Commanders field or in the organization. So all in all, I feel like from Dan Quinn to Josh Harris to the minority owners, honestly, of the team, all the right decisions have been made. But again, the offense is what has got people excited, Mike. Like I thought before this season, the Commanders' offense was very predictable. That's why it was very hard for them to be able to have success. Like I think now, again, there's different guys you have to account for. Jaden himself, right? You have to account for because he can get it done on his legs, he can get it done with his arms, and then the way that they're able to be unique, even crafty, even in the backfield. Especially that's why again it's so important that Brian Robinson Jr. is coming back. I can't underestimate or underemphasize that enough for Washington, even though Austin Eckler has done a hell of a job and has been a hell of an impression. But all in all, like I said, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Washington. But Brian deserves, and I'm glad you bring up the assistant coaches because I don't think honestly they get enough love, right? Because fans only know the main guys.
Right.
I'm very excited for what he's brought.
Well, the Eagles, when they had drafted Jalen Hurts, they brought in Brian Johnson from the University of Florida, being the offensive coordinator there. Was the quarterback's coach, of course, the year we went to the Super Bowl against Kansas City, and it was, he was given the job to be the offensive coordinator for Jalen. And, knowing Jalen since he was a little kid, like, it's just a head scratcher. Like, how did this not work? I don't know. Maybe it was the hangover, but just that meltdown last year was just, going into the off season. And then, the Eagles originally were supposed to give Cliff Kingsbury the offensive coordinator's job, but he didn't want our great offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland, as, the offensive, he wanted to bring somebody in, Stoutland University would, the job he's done with the Eagles offensive line with Kelsey Mulata, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, going back to, Chip Kelly originally brought him in, back in 2013. But, it's just, what could have been what if the Eagles did have Cliff Kingsbury instead of Kellen Moore? I mean, we'll never really know, but, it's pretty interesting between the Brian Johnson being assistant head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, supposedly landing the job, but obviously things didn't work out. Just to not to interrupt here, we have a comment here, Al. I don't know if I'm saying Amoni Bentley saying go Birds.
E-Money, yeah.
E-Money. Thanks for tuning in.
He comes up here quite a bit. Yeah.
All right, appreciate it. But just touching on, turn it back over to Al there.
Okay. I want to ask you something. It really doesn't have anything to do with football, and especially the Birds Washington game, but it's the ownership. Now Josh has the Commanders, has the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
And he has the
New Jersey
Devils. In your opinion, especially when it's say Philadelphia 76ers,
right?
And now you with Washington, but they playing the Eagles. Is there any kind of thing going on in your mind about a situation like that? Just hearing your thoughts.
So loyal to Philly and not DC. It's so funny you say that. I think I think obviously he's learned to love Philly, right? He has the sports teams, but at the end of the day, there's no place like home, and you never forget where you come from. And Josh Harris is from here, folks. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Right.
As someone who was born and bred here in the DMV as well, there's no place like the DMV. If you've never been to Washington, D.C., I highly, highly, highly encourage you to come. And probably come before the inauguration, because I think January is going to be a little bit crazy here in January.
I'm down there too much.
But, I think, and he said it, this is a team he grew up watching. And for
Mhm.
anybody that remembers the Hog days of Washington,
Yeah,
the 3
yeah.
days, of Washington, you remember what it was like, right? For me, I have to honestly hear it through stories, right? Because their last football was there. I was born, but, I know of it because, obviously from talking, I have a lot of former players that come on my show, have worked with a lot of the former players in Washington. And, you remember your childhood memories, right? All of us remember our childhood favorites, greats, and idols. And I don't care how old you get. If you still get to meet your childhood great or idol, like you're going to be excited at any age, right?
Absolutely.
What happened. So obviously I know he has to, I don't know. I feel like it's hard to be impartial, but he has to show love to both. But I think the Commanders have a special place. And let's be honest, I think because they're doing better now too, it's probably a lot easier to love them this year as well.
Now, I grew up in North Carolina in the 60s.
Okay.
And back then, we only got Washington. We didn't get Philadelphia, New York.
Yep.
And my major guy back then was Larry Brown. I used to love watching him run.
Icon. Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that either. So you just pointed, there's a lot of Washington fans in North Carolina, to your point. Same reason why, I think folks don't realize there's a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans in Washington too. And that's a whole history lesson, but Washington was the last team to integrate. So you have a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans here, in Washington.
Right.
I think you just brought up a good point. Like if you're a sports fan, and you really look at the history of teams and how people become fans of teams, it's a beautiful story. Again, that's the reason why I love being a journalist. I get to tell those stories and connect those stories.
Is that Washington, Dallas? I mean, they always say it's like Dallas and Washington, that was like the arch nemesis. Is that?
Oh yeah, I think it's still
more so than the Eagles with Washington.
Oh, for sure. Dallas week is serious here. Like serious. Like I think Eagles fans. I will say Eagles fans travel well, and I think it's helped that Washington has been bad as of late. So it's a lot easier to get those tickets. But this year, I think obviously it's a different ball game, but. Washington and Dallas, like it hurts to the core. I think obviously the big rivalries here are Dallas and Washington, and then Ravens and Steelers. Like the hate is real between those franchises.
See, that was somebody I think on WIP today. One of the hosts was saying, I gotta find some reason to hate Dallas. I mean, to hate Washington because they haven't been relevant in so long. We said all of a sudden there they are, but. I don't hate them, but I need to find a reason to hate them.
Such a good point. Like, who doesn't love Jaden Daniels right now, right? And who isn't happy, at least a slimmer, to see Washington not in controversy and finally going the right way. So, like with Dallas, I think Jerry Jones has I think he's enjoyed it, right? Kind of becoming that villain role. Then what we just talked about with Parsons, that doesn't help you love the team more. The sun in players' eyes. I mean, we can point to so many different things that can make it easier for folks to hate that Dallas team, but Washington and Dallas week, and then if we go back to Cowboys and the former name of the team,
Cowboys and Indians,
right? And that was a real rivalry. For folks, I'd say folks around that I know that grew up in the '60s, like who loved watching. I don't know if this was you, but who loved watching Cowboys films growing up.
Absolutely,
that was real for them. So
absolutely,
take that rivalry back, to that, and that's something I think will always be ingrained in so many fans' heads.
Kelsey, I want to. There's been rumors of them going back to that name, which I doubt would ever happen. But I mean, is that talked about?
I think right now this franchise is trying to get things right. So if you guys remember, recently we had Daryl Green just got the keys to the city. He got a suite in the Commander Stadium. Like one thing this franchise has been doing a lot better is alumni relations, right? Because that was one issue that was happening with Dan Snyder. So many things were happening. Some of them didn't even want to come back, right? They didn't want to have anything to do with the team. So I think right now Josh Harris trying to get things right and knowing it. Honestly, I haven't. I know people have said that, but I haven't heard that because again, I think fans are really trying to get. I think the organization is really just trying to get it right. So if I were a betting woman, Mike, I would not bet on that name coming back. But I will say people aren't in love with the Commander's name. I'll just be honest. Fans, they're dealing with it, but they're not in love with the Commander's name.
Well, the thing of it was, I mean, they were called, called the commies, just like. They just had the Washington football team.
Yeah, that's when I worked for them. I worked for them when they were the Washington football team, when we had no name. And that was a unique, thing. Everyone's saying, you guys don't even have a name. But, I will say, I think at the end of the day, I will say fans care about the product on the field. They just do.
Well,
And Washington is a football town. I'm somebody who has coined the phrase, the DMV breeds ballers. That's in football. That's in basketball. We have so much talent here, homegrown talent. If you don't believe me, look at your local college roster and look how many guys are from the area. And that means something. So all in all to say, Mike, I think that's in the back of fans' heads right now. They're just enjoying the high of how well this team is playing. And if you look at the latest, Jaden Daniels is one of the top selling jerseys. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Don't mind wearing Commanders right now, on the jersey.
No. I got our field general on.
Okay, now let's get back into the game a little bit. Let's talk about some of the keys of the game. So, Kelsey, what are your keys for a Washington victory?
Well, we talked about one earlier. Red zone, Al. You got to protect the red zone.
Absolutely.
And then for Washington, they also have to score the red zone. So it's on both sides of the football. So that R word, I think, will definitely mean a lot. I think the secondary, again, is going to be the next one. Washington has to, it just is, right? No Lattimore. He was an added piece that fans are excited to see, but that has to be safe. And then also, I think Philly is, I think this game is going to be won in the trenches. I really do. I think. So all I'm going to say, I think Washington's offensive line has been playing good football, but again, you have to look at that injury report. I think Jaden is going to probably be pressured in a couple ways that maybe he hasn't seen. So I think, honestly, another key to the game is just Jaden making smart decisions. When you get rid of the football, right? How long should you hold on the football to make that big play? Again, he's still a rookie. I know he's incredible, but this team is experienced. And they're not afraid to bring it to him. And think about it. You're a hot shot name. They're going to bring it to you even more. Right?
Absolutely.
Guys have stuff guys have families to feed, right? There's stuff that they want to do, to you. So I think those would probably be the biggest keys. But I think, I'm really curious how Terry McLaurin is going to be defended, in this one.
He's always been an Eagles killer.
That's why I'm interested, right? Will they figure it out right now? So, I think Philly's defense and how they're able to guard. And I think Washington has so many offensive weapons now because they've spread the offense. What do you do? And that's going to be a watch.
Well, we got Darius Slay, who's a little injured, but, we have our number one pick, Quinyon Mitchell, who's bowling, just playing like a seasoned veteran, 5-10 years. I mean, in training camp or OTAs, he was telling A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, you're running weak routes. Now, I think that's definitely going to be a key matchup, definitely. We also got Cooper DeJean, who's playing in the slot, who's playing like a seasoned veteran too. And, we probably had two of the best linebackers probably in the last couple of years with Zach Ball, who was Defensive Player of the Year, and Kobe Dean's third-round pick.
Man,
a couple of years
Kobe has shown up. Yeah, Kobe's somebody I got to meet in college.
Winning. Did you?
Yeah, Mississippi. So I have family from Mississippi. So, he's a Mississippi guy, Mississippi's own. But Nakobe has shown up. I mean, I've mentioned his name. He's somebody I tweeted. He's a stud. And when I say something, that they can play football, Mike. So I think Washington's going to have their hands full. We haven't even talked about the Eagles who can run the football. I think that's going to be something that Washington's going to have to account for that. So I think both teams, if they both bring who they have been into this game, we're going to be in for a good one where the defenses are going to have to come up big.
How about this matchup on the Eagles offensive line against either Jordan Malott or Lane Johnson going up against Dante Fowler?
Ooh, and he's been playing great as of late. Dante Fowler. I think this is why if Washington's defense can play consistently each quarter of the football game, again, I think, and again, Jalen, I like him as a quarterback, but again, I know he's gotten better as of late, but it was a rough season, right, to start. I mean, they're really fans. Y'all aren't nice. Y'all weren't saying the nicest things about Jalen to start.
No,
They still aren't.
And that's true. They still aren't fully bought into him, right? So it's a lot of pressure on his back to perform. And Washington's defense, are they the scariest defense? No, but they are solid, right?
Well,
as a unit.
I think it's kind of being swept under the rug, but the Eagles did get about 5 sacks this past week, the Dallas's defensive line. And, they got to clean that up. And, Jordan Mailata, I mean, I'll say this. Fred Johnson has stepped right in for Jordan Mailata. So, he could play both sides of the bookends, which, it's like you said, it could be one in the trenches tomorrow.
And look, if you're a football fan, you love that. Just old school football, in a sense. But all in all, like I said, I think this game, like I said, you talked about Dante Fowler Jr. That's somebody that people are going to have an eye on. Jeremy Chin, I think Jeremy Chin needs to be talked about a lot more. I think we're talking about this Washington squad. He's somebody that has stepped up big. And like I said, Frankie Louvu, you talk about sacks. He's somebody that can get the job done. And we already talked about Bobby Wagner. So there are guys that you have to count for on this Washington defense, right? So I think Philadelphia is going to have their hands full. But I think, like I said, this game is going to come down to what can the defenses do, what's done in the trenches, and like I said, which quarterback can play the cleanest game of football. This is not a game. You can't be Jared Goff in this game and have 5 picks.
Right.
It's a football game.
It's not going to find a way to win. But I mean, to me, it's going to be an old school knockdown, drag out NFC East battle.
Which is what we want as fans, right?
Of course.
Absolutely.
If you love the NFC East, you want that.
Well, it's, I just think it's going to be a great game. And, I'm actually looking forward to the matchup down in D.C. when the Eagles come down there.
Yeah. Look, all the fans are.
I might have to hop on 95 South for that one, as well as going to Baltimore. So.
Well, enjoy the crab cakes in Baltimore, Mike, and we'll have to get you a half smoke in DC. You'll enjoy the game.
Every time we go to Baltimore, I go to Moe's.
Oh, Moe's is good.
Oh, yeah, Moe's is good.
Yeah, we're going to have to meet up in Baltimore.
Nice.
Well, the only part about that, like I say, when I'm down there with the team, I get so busy. I very rarely have time for anything else, but we see if we can make it work.
Kelsey, I had just a question, not to get off the game, but Candy Waller and Karita Parks?
I do, yes.
I was talking to Karita about coming on maybe for the Ravens game, but I know her schedule's just like yours.
So crazy. Yeah. So obviously, they are also great journalists here in the DC area. So it's been great to have a sisterhood in sports.
Right. So any predictions on the game? Score-wise?
This is gonna be a tough one. This one's hard to predict. Obviously, I think Washington again. This is going to be an avenge game. They're still hurt from that 1 point loss to Pittsburgh, a game that they felt like they could have came back. And I think that's a game that some guys felt like they could have come back from. I'm going to say 31. I'm going to say 31-27 Washington wins.
Okay, now just let me say this real quick.
Al has a problem with the prediction.
If it happens that way, I would not be taking them back to the airport. They're going to have to walk.
Hey, Al, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I know you took that picture and put it on Facebook with that. I don't want to say what hat you had on, but
the Washington hat. I say it. I say
you had
the
a
Washington hat. Yeah.
Do you have to wear that when you pick teams up?
Yeah, every team that I pick up, we have to wear their hats.
So who did you pick this week, Al?
Who did I pick?
Yeah, who are you picking?
Oh, of course, the Eagles. I would never pick against the Eagles, no matter how bad they are. But like I said, I'm looking for a good game. I'm looking for actually a great game, very competitive game. And even though I would pick the Eagles, as long as the game is good and the guys are playing hard, I can live with the results. Yeah,
I agree. And with where both teams are, I think that's
But I would say the score, I would say 27-24 Eagles.
Ooh.
And with a full share of the NFC East.
It's gonna be
Mike,
good.
what say you?
It's kind of funny you say that because I'm thinking I'm going to go 26-21 Eagles.
Ooh, I like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Well, like I say, I want it to be a great game, competitive game.
No doubt.
Even though I'm an Eagles fan, I'm a football fan, and I look for competitiveness.
Yeah.
And when the guys get back on the bus, no matter win, lose, or draw, they treat me like a human being, and I treat them like as such. So that's all that matters to me.
That's wonderful. I love that. Such a good
Kel-
message.
Kelsey, do you speak to Brian Mitchell at all? I know he has a
I
radio.
do. I just saw Brian. We were at a golf tournament. Brian is one of those guys that's so funny. Like, we don't plan stuff, but we always run into each
Right.
other.
Right.
And yeah, I know his daughter. She went to Maryland like me. So yeah, B-Mitch is just cool people. So yeah, I do talk to Brian.
Yeah, you know Brian Mitchell too. Don't you?
Yeah. I've had my dealings with him over the years. Absolutely. It's not too many people in all sport, NFL, NBA, NHL that I don't know because I've been doing this job for 25 years. So
Nice.
a lot of them may not know by name as far as the players, but they see my face. Hey, Bussy, what's happening? Because everybody calls drivers Bussy.
Oh, that's cute.
But anyway, we're got just a couple of minutes left. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking out the time to come on with Mike and I.
Sorry about the mix-up. Yeah, I was like, why isn't the Google Meet
Nah.
working?
Well, that's right. That's right, because I did schedule it. What was it, 7-8? But y'all got.
No, you're fine. I'm glad.
We're
Look, we
running
made
a
it
little
work.
behind, but just glad you came on and
Of
we were
course.
able to chop it up here.
This was fun. This was fun. Thank you guys for having me. Al, it was great to meet you. Mike, always a
As
pleasure
well.
to see you.
And like I said, I will be down when we come to Washington. I will be there, and because we stay with the team,
Nice.
and the same as with in Baltimore. So I'll be down at both places there.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to meeting you both over again. Good
Absolutely.
cakes and half smokes.
I will actually be coming down to Baltimore, I believe Saturday is.
Okay.
So
this Saturday?
Nah, when the Eagles.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was like, good, because I'm in Atlanta this Saturday, so good. I won't miss
it. Will you be covering the Ravens?
Actually speaking. I'm getting honored and speaking at a conference, a woman in media conference. So I'm trying to get you. Thank you. I'm down.
Oh, wait. Matter of fact, I did see you posted something about that conference where you're being.
Yeah, I leave for Atlanta on Friday, and I'll be there through the weekend.
What kind of award are you getting?
It honors women in media, so I'm super excited. Like, I think for me, everybody asks me like, how do you feel when you get all these awards? For me, every award means something special because I did this because I love it. I think sometimes when you're in the work that you forget that people are watching you, right? You're doing it because you love it. And I'm doing this because this is what I went to school for. This is what I teach. This is what I know. This is what I've loved, since I came into this world. And so, I think for me, I got in Atlanta, like getting honored in Atlanta, getting like, it means like, wow, like here I'm in DC and there were some folks kind enough, in Georgia. And so the people I'm getting honored with, again, just magnificent women doing so much in the media space in all fields, not just in sports. Mike, so I'm thankful. So I'm excited. I'm hoping for no turbulence on my plane ride down so I can be calm, cool, and collected once I land.
Absolutely.
And Atlanta's not a bad place to get anything, right? Who doesn't love it?
Love it. Great town.
Vegan and everything else.
Great town, Atlanta.
Okay, so again, thank you so very much. We don't want to take too much of your time, but it's been valuable, it's been insightful, and it's been enjoyable.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Maybe we can get you on for Baltimore in a couple weeks.
Yeah, keep me posted, Mike. You have my contact. Keep me posted. We'll try to work.
All right. Where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, so easiest way, my website is KelseyNicoleNelson.com, on social media, The Real K Nelson, and then Facebook, LinkedIn, just Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Please come say hi. Don't bite, I promise. I love meeting fans. I love interacting with folks. And again, just talking sports.
Now, hopefully, we have a group down in Atlanta called Atlantadelphia.
I like
group,
that. Yeah.
and they follow us all the time. So maybe they'll see you down there and say hi to
Maybe
you.
they will,
Right.
please. I hope they do.
Absolutely. Now, when we end this, don't just log off. You should have something coming on that tells you when to log off,
Okay.
because otherwise we won't have your recording. Okay.
I will make sure I don't.
Okay.
right.
So once again,
Talk.
thank you so very much. We appreciate it.
Guys.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you.
this has been At the 50 with Fuji and Fleet. And our guest has been Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Thank you so much.
You know,
And go Birds.
I gotta say raise hell.
I hear you.
And go revolutionaries.
All righty.
All right.